Hi, I'm Philip Monahan, and we're in my studio in New York today talking about my new show, Why Are You Doing This to Me? David Trinidad and I were acquainted through Tim Dugos. Although we were in the same circles, we really did not know each other. But when I began to realize a project that Tim Dugos and I had been assigned by New York University in 1983, I had to contact David Trinidad because he is Tim's literary executor. And the project involved Tim Dugos' poem Gilligan's Island. So as I became more friendly with David, I began to read more of his work and understand his relationship with Tim Dugos, who I was personally very close to, and understand David's aesthetic. And I picked up his volume, The Late Show, at this time, and read the poem, and I just fell in love with it. I realized when I read watching The Late Show on TV with my mother that he was talking about a relationship that he had with his mother watching these films, and that this was an elegy to his mother. And my mother had recently died as well. I was in the grieving process for her, and to be frank, gay men and their mothers have a very unique bond, and the practices or the things that bonded us together, one of the things was this kind of love of these women's movies. And I began to gather the films that David had referenced in the poem, and looking at them and watching these scenes and doing video grabs from the films of the scenes that he's referring to. And slowly a storyboard developed of there was a visual narrative of David's poem. I decided to commit to doing a series based on them, and I began to work on the triptychs, which are actually, each film has a scenario that is depicted in the poem, and I want to show the woman who is struggling and how her life changes and the outcome. And so each one of them is 3 frames that are lifted from the film, and oftentimes the resolution is very tragic, but it's tragic in a kind of Hollywood kind of way. It's the depiction of death and dying in Hollywood films has a camp quality to it. So we kind of laugh about it, and at the same time it's a little frightening. And I love that frisson where you have those two, sadness, you have pathos, you have a camp quality, and that's all depicted in these women's struggles. You know, I had very mixed feelings about my 4 years living in Lubbock as a budding gay man and living in Lubbock in the 1970s. It was a very difficult experience for me. And I moved to New York after Lubbock, and my master's degree and then my professional career unfolded, and I really didn't give Texas too much thought. As I grew older, I came to realize that it was time to give something back. And Texas Tech was the place where my aesthetics formed. I was trained at the university to think logically about fine art, to understand aesthetics, and to realize the discipline that it would take for me to be a contributing artist or creative person. And so all my groundwork was laid there. So for me it was very important to come back. So for me it's a coming home. I'm looking forward to seeing my old painting professor and mentor, Jim Howes, and meeting with the students and working with them while I'm at the university. Well, I'm very excited to bring the show back to New York in 2016. The Fales Library at New York University is the place where David Trinidad's archives are kept, along with Tim Dugos. And many of the poets and artists of my age group, and many of them who were lost to AIDS. And so I'm looking forward to bringing the show back to the Fails and having an opening in New York in the fall of 2016. We're also looking forward to bringing the show to Chicago, and in the future we'd love to take the show to Los Angeles, where most of these films, were shot. This show, after all, the poem and the show paintings are all about Hollywood. So it would be fitting for the show to end in Los Angeles, and hopefully those plans will come to fruition.